To be here to talk to you about some of the top key trends which is going to impact the future of work, as well as give you a little bit of a blueprint in terms of as you are actually formulating your workplace transformation strategy. As you look in the market today, the workplace is changing rapidly. Every single day, across the board, there is a new disruptor who's actually coming into the market with new disruptions. And so every CXO, as a part of his digital transformation strategy, has to have a workplace transformation strategy as well. Why is that? It's because there are several top 5 key trends which are basically impacting the future of work tremendously. Trend number 1, it's about an evolving workforce. So what do I mean by an evolving workforce? If you look at this particular picture, currently in 2020, there are close to 4 different quad generational workforce which are there in the market today. So you have the baby boomers who are possibly going to be retiring, but more and more people are actually stretching their retirement. Even if they retire, they're actually working part-time. Then you have the Gen X, the millennials make up probably 75% of the population by the time you get to 2020. And then the Gen Z population is slowly getting geared up in order to come into the workforce. And if you think about it, yeah, the needs, the care abouts, the wants of each and every part of the generation is very, very different. So especially if you think about the baby boomers in terms of the influences, they grew up in the word-based entertainment era. So if you think about it, it was about TV, it's about radio. And then you think about the Gen X population, it's all about visual entertainment, MTV, CNN, so on and so forth. Millennials, and Gen Z population, it's all about social media network. And then about the value system, very, very different in terms of what they actually like. And last but not the least, the tools they use is also very, very different. So if you think about the workforce today, and this is going to be a big challenge for every CXO who's thinking about transforming their workplace. So they need to put together an office where all of this quad generational workforce can actually coexist and work very closely with each other. The second trend is that it's not that we have to deal with a quad generational workforce, you also have to think about the changing nature of work. So what do I mean by that? When I say changing nature of work, I'm talking about the gig economy. So in the United States, 36% of the US workers are now involved in the gig economy, which means that they're contract workers, they're temp workers, they are not full-time employees for a particular company. And this also means that this group of people, this gig economy, which is also on the rise, come into a company, they work their particular hours, and which means that the team needs to form, norm, storm, and disband very, very quickly. And so employers, as they're thinking about making changes to the workplace, they have to think about what are the care abouts of this gig economy workers who are also going to play a big role in the workplace. The third one is the demand for flexibility. When you think about the millennial population, they're going to make up 75% of the workforce by the time you get to 2025 worldwide. And in the United States, they're going to be about 1/3 of the population. And so specifically when you think about the millennials, some of the important care abouts is the need for mobility. So they want to be able to work anywhere, anytime, whether it's in their home, in the office, doesn't matter. And given this, there is a huge increase in terms of the co-working spaces. And so co-working spaces are also growing at an annual growth rate. And again, as people are actually formulating their workplace strategies, you have to think about the quad generational workforce, you have to think about the gig economy, as well as the demand for flexibility so that you can make work happen anytime, anywhere. The fourth one is about technology. Technology is becoming a huge enabler in order to be able to help and meet the needs of the businesses as they're transforming the workforce. AI is no longer a buzzword when you think about the future of work. AI, you can see visible implementations of AI, which plays a tremendous role in terms of being able to increase the employee engagement as well as productivity. Another area where there is a technology enabler is around AR, VR. And you can see a lot of the AR, VR use cases in several different verticals. In telemedicine, you can see where they are using the AR, VR technology. Another example is in the manufacturing industry, where you can actually have a technician who's working in a cell tower, and he's got his AR, VR glass on, and if he's trying to troubleshoot a problem, whatever he's actually seeing will be able to be transmitted down to someone working in IT so that they can diagnose and troubleshoot the problem together very, very quickly. So again, technology is going to play a big role as you think about the future of work. And last but not the least, the rising need of customer expectations. 75% of the consumers are likely to make a purchase from a company who know their name and purchase history. All of us are impatient. Given the customer expectations, we want to be served instantaneously. And so another thing, if you think about, this is an area where AI, again, is going to play a tremendous role, because 46% of customers will abandon a brand if the employees or the agents they're actually working with are not knowledgeable and they're not able to meet and serve their needs. And so again, the growing customer expectation is also going to play a big role as you think about bringing new feature functionality to market, and how those products actually operate in the workplace is also very critical. So we know that these trends are there and are going to become even more entrenched into the marketplace as you look forward in the next couple of years. So which means that every company, every CXO has to have a way to be able to transform their workplace. So if they don't do that, they're not going to get the benefits which they have to reap. So what are some of the key benefits you will actually gain if you have a successful workplace transformation strategy? Number one, being able to improve employee engagement and productivity. This is important because a happy employee builds great products, which in turn has a tremendous impact on the company's top line as well as the bottom line. The second benefit is winning the war of talent. If you look at the stat, 75% of the workforce by 2025 is going to be made up of the millennials. Those millennials, their expectations are very different. Their care-abouts are very different. So how do you basically bring the younger generation into your company so that you can win the war of talent and retain the talent? Third one is being able to elevate your customer experience. That's given. It impacts your CSAT scores, your NPS scores across the board. And last but not the least, the real estate costs are growing up tremendously every single day. And so the cost of real estate is growing, and you have to be able to do a lot with a lot lesser. So how can you leverage and optimize your existing real estate investment so that you can actually deliver towards your business goals? So these are some of the important benefits you actually get if you implement a very successful workplace transformation strategy. So we at Cisco, we have actually created a blueprint on what would a successful workplace transformation strategy actually look like. So we categorized it into 3 different elements. So it's not just about the technology, it's about the people. So you need to have a cultural transformation, which we call the work style. Being able to create a work environment so that the quad generational workforce can coexist and collaboratively work together. Because it's not only about the millennial or the Gen Z. You also have to think about the baby boomers and Gen X who have different care-abouts, and they have to change. And how does the company have to go through that cultural transformation so that you can bring everybody along the way as a part of your journey? So work style, which is all about the people, and cultural transformation is important. The second one is about the workspace. You have to adapt your workspace in order to meet the various different work styles. And we'll talk about the various different work styles. And last but not the least, it's the technology. It's about being able to create that seamless workflow so that you can actually connect multiple different apps in order to be able to provide that seamless experience which your employees actually need in order to experience an amazing experience at work. So if you think about the various different elements I talked about, work style, What are the various different work styles? The people are not working the traditional way. It's not a linear way of actually working. So today, everything is about going agile. It's all about innovation and bringing new functionality and features to market rapidly across the board. So if you think about the various different work styles you need to think about, you have to think about a desk worker or someone who's in a call center who's an agent. And so there, they are pretty much ground to their desk. And it's all about making sure that particular work style has all the tools in order to be able to deliver against their business goals. The second one is a telecommuting worker. So this one is someone who can work out of multiple different locations. So they really don't have a location in one particular place. They're not really a mobile worker. There is a difference between a telecommuting worker as well as a remote worker. So they'll work out of their office, they'll work out of their home. An example of that is the rising gig economy. So the rising gig economy, these are the temp workers. So they want to be able to work on their timeline, and they want to be able to work anywhere, anytime. The third type of style is a remote worker. So this is an employee of a company who doesn't work in the office and has a dedicated space at his home or in a different geographical location. The fourth style is a mobile worker. A mobile worker is someone who actually travels extensively for work. And last but not the least, there is a new emerging work style trend, which is called a deskless worker. An example of this is a frontline employee, someone who works in a retail store, like Home Depot or any of the other retail stores. And so they don't sit in front of their desk, but they still need to make work happen all the time. And so these are the various different work styles which every employer has to actually think about when you're formulating your workplace strategy. Then you have to think about, okay, I have 4 or 5 different work styles which I need to support in order to meet the needs of my employees, but how can I actually transform the workspace? Gone are those cubicles or those conference rooms where everybody had a dedicated space to actually work. If you now look at it, it's all about being able to provide a lot of various different ways for people to actually collaborate. So the conference rooms are still there, but you have to think about the real estate cost, right? Like how many conference rooms do you need? Because many a times those conference rooms are actually not being utilized, which in turn impacts your real estate cost as well as strategy. Then there is a huge growing abundance of what we call huddle rooms. We did a study and we found that there are close to 20 million huddle rooms in the market, and these are huddle rooms which have less than 20% of technology in them. So companies are actually creating these co-working spaces internally for people to huddle and work together, but without the technology, you won't be able to actually huddle together and work with your peers who are geographically distributed somewhere else. And you also don't have the tools so that you can actually co-create and ideate and innovate. And so huddle room is another growing concept. The third one is the boardroom, the executive room, or a room where all of the execs go together so that they can have those important private discussions. The fourth type of space is an employee's desk. And a typical engineer will have an employee desk. You will see a call center agent will also have a dedicated desk. And then there is the retail floor employee. They don't have a dedicated space. They're walking along the floors of the retail shop where they're actually working in, and that is a style we also have to support. Then there is the training room where you actually will be able to train employees, and you can also think of an all-hands room where everybody comes together for all-hands meetings. And then there is the break room. So these are the various different workspaces you also need to think about when you think about the 5 different trends and how you actually can marry the work styles with the various different workspaces. The last but not the least is the underlying workflow. When I say workflow, technology becomes a huge enabler to be able to take the multiple different work styles, connect it to the right set of workspaces, and then you need to have the underlying technology enable the work styles as well as the workspace. And it's not just about collaboration. It's not just about being able to provide them with the tools so that they can collaborate through meetings, or they can collaborate one-on-one through calling, or collaborate with one-to-many using messaging platforms. It's more than that. Again, when you think about it, one of the benefits you are giving your employees is all about being able to improve the employee engagement and experience. And so the key aspect over here is the technology needs to become the bridge. So if you are messaging with someone and you want to co-edit a document together, you don't have to switch an app and go into another tool like the Google Suite or the Microsoft productivity tools. You should be able to do it right then and there so that you don't have to context switch. On the average, every employee or a knowledge worker has to basically context switch between 34 apps on a daily basis. So think about the amount of time you can actually save when the whole ecosystem is actually very well connected so that you can further facilitate a collaborative mode for people to actually work in. So here I'm now going to go through couple of different examples on how you can actually align workspaces to the various different work style and bring in the various different technology together. So think of a typical use case. One of the work styles is someone who's actually at their desk and they could be in their home or in the front office. So how do you be productive? You wake up in the morning, you get your coffee, and you go to your mobile device and you join a meeting if you have a meeting. Or we just launched a new device to the market which we call Instant Office, which is called the Desk Pro. And with the Desk Pro, all you have to do is to basically go and it'll automatically recognize you if you have a team pairing, and it'll say, hey, you have a meeting, do you want to join a meeting? All you have to do is either press the join button, or we have a voice-enabled assistant with the Webex assistant where you can say, yes, join the meeting, and boom, you're in the meeting. And that is where AI plays a big role in terms of technology. Because if you think about it, it's all about increasing employee engagement and increasing their productivity. So we have taken away, being able to join a meeting becomes table stakes. It's given. And that's the world we actually operate in. It's more taking it beyond that by using virtual assistants and voice-enabled assistants to make your day much more productive across the board. Another different style is, how can you concentrate in the office? Given the rising number of huddle rooms which are there across the board, you also want to make sure that as people are sitting in open environments, because more and more offices are going into open environments, people don't no longer have the privacy or the cubicles where they can actually work in. And so if you have a lot of background noise, you need to make sure that you are allowing your employees to be able to concentrate in the office. And so having a headset, like we just recently launched a headset called the Clear Voice, which will automatically cancel the noise in the background. It'll also enable you to join a meeting instantaneously, anytime, anywhere. And so again, being able to adapt into that particular workspace for a work style is also very critical across the board. The third one is, if you're huddling together in a conference room or in a huddle room, you want to be able to brainstorm with your colleagues so that you can ideate and co-create. Gone are the days where you actually take a blank whiteboard and you have to draw on it, and then after the end of the discussion, most of the time you'll actually have to take a picture and then send it through as a text or through one of the messaging platforms. But now we have solved the problem because we have a Webex whiteboard which gives you the ability to do the sticky notes, gives you the ability to draw, gives you the ability to co-create. And once the meeting is actually done, all of the conversations which were whiteboarded is automatically dropped into your messaging inbox, which we call Webex Teams, and it's shared with everybody who actually was in that particular meeting. Again, it goes long ways in terms of being able to increase employee engagement as well as productivity. And the last one, like I said, is about the boardroom, right? And here, it has to be AI enabled, and it is about that experience so that you need to have the high definition video. The boardroom conversations, let's say somebody is actually dialing in from another part of the world, which is, for example, somebody is dialing in into the boardroom from Europe. And so how do you basically cut the boardroom so that it looks like a real life experience? And so video first has to be there across the board. Again, like I said, just like the joining a meeting becomes table stakes, video first experience becomes a table stake as well, because that actually brings about the personalization and allows people to work anywhere, anytime. But especially in the boardroom, you want to be able to give an experience where you have that HD quality video so that you feel like you're sitting with the person, even though they might be sitting in Europe, so that you have that immersive conversation. And last but not the least, like I said, other important AI-enabled functionality which are really important and relevant is intelligent framing and speaker tracking. So let's say you're talking to someone and the person actually stands up. So the device needs to automatically adjust to the particular person. The speakers need to be able to track their voice depending upon how the person actually moves within the meeting. We also need to be able to recognize people when they join a meeting through the device. And so we have, all of our devices have facial recognition built into them, whether it's the Webex board or whether it's the RoomKit Mini, doesn't matter. So if when you join a meeting through any one of our Webex-enabled device, all of our devices are AI-enabled. So it'll automatically recognize you, and it'll drop your name along with your title at the bottom of that particular window on the device. And again, all of this, when I talk about it, this talks to the personalization. We live in a world, especially when you think about the millennials as well as the Gen Z population, they really don't like the face-to-face interaction, but they still want to be able to see someone. And so video-first technology, being able to leverage voice assistant, being able to leverage facial recognition, being able to do auto-pairing. So that way, when you go into a meeting room, you're on your way to the office and you've dialed into the meeting on your mobile device. As soon as you come into the office, you should not have to drop the call and switch on through your Webex device. We have the ability to automatically pair from your mobile device into your Webex device. With one button swipe, you can automatically move the call from your mobile phone into your desk device. And so that is the level of transparency we want our employees to actually have, so that it makes it much more of an engaging, personalized, and a productive experience. And so, like I said, companies who have actually adopted a way to basically bring all of these various different use cases in terms of aligning work style to the workspace actually have the ability to have a huge impact with respect to their top line as well as the bottom line. So while you're thinking about various different work style and workspace, and thinking about how you can further increase employee engagement and productivity, you cannot compromise on the security. Collaboration is critical, but collaboration should not be done without any, you cannot have collaboration without any compromises, which means that security needs to be your top of mind. And so a couple of key things you need to think about as you implement the various different platforms. There is a lot of private confidential information which is being exchanged, especially when you think about the messaging platforms. So are those information actually secure? Even if you have your meeting and so you have a recording that is stored in somebody else's cloud, is that recording actually safe? If you also have transcription, where everything actually gets transcribed automatically in the meeting, is that actually safe? So there is so much amount of information that is being exchanged when you collaborate with your peers, your customers, your partners. And so having end-to-end encryption, when I say encryption end-to-end, it's encryption in transit, encryption at rest, doesn't matter. You need to make sure that you know that the vendor you're with will not be able to compromise on your security measures. The second one is being able to adhere to various different compliance measures and also have the ability to have deep visibility as well as control. And this in turn facilitates very simple, secure cross-company collaboration. The third area, like one of the worker styles, which I talked about, is about the desk worker. So a desk worker, an example of the desk worker is a call center agent. So when you think about a call center agent, it's all about being able to provide that customer service. So one of the trends I had was being able to provide exceptional customer service, and the customer service expectations is only growing across the board. And so how do you help your call center agent become a super agent? And it's all about being able to have the underlying technology which will help the call center agent have access to historical conversation. So that way, so think about this particular example. You are, you're traveling someplace, your flight has been canceled, you want to be able to reach your family ASAP. Every one of us have been through that particular scenario. And so you call the airline where you actually booked your ticket, and you go through this long, lengthy process talking to a virtual assistant, which will say, press 1, do this, press 2, do this, and it gets really annoying when you're already tired, your flight has been canceled, and you're trying to reach home, and you have to go through this long conversation with the virtual assistant. After having that conversation, then you talk to a live operator, and you have to repeat the whole conversation again. And then that kind of an experience really basically puts people off across the board. So how do you transform that experience? If the agent, when you basically call into the airline company when your flight was canceled, if there was a way where they already knew that your flight was canceled, and as soon as you pick up the call and you dial into the company, the virtual assistant should say, I see that your flight has been canceled. We have already rebooked your flight, and your flight has been rebooked on this particular day, and as a part of, and we apologize for the inconvenience, and we have also given you additional 50,000 points. Think about the experience you will actually feel if that is the kind of service you'll actually get with your virtual assistant as well as a live operator. You transform the way they actually are operating. And so again, being able to provide that with your call center agent, and which we have with our contact center portfolio, where we have, it's AI enabled. We have a partnership with Google, and we have the ability in order to basically help the agents in order to provide the right set of answers so that it is very, very contextual. And so they do not have to go through the whole process again, so that you can actually provide a fantastic experience across the board. And another important element which plays a big role when you think about employee engagement and productivity is about how can you automate a lot of mundane tasks. Right? So when we join a meeting, many a times you have to take those copious notes. It's an important meeting, and you might have missed something. What if you could actually automatically have your voice assistant say, hey, I'm here to basically take notes for you. The meeting assistant becomes your chief of staff. So that meeting assistant has the ability to take the notes. You can tell Webex, for example, now we just launched this functionality about a month ago. We can actually say, hey, Webex, start taking meeting notes. And it'll start taking the meeting notes. It'll also start transcribing. So you can actually see the closed captioning transcribing while you actually have the meeting. So let's say you're talking to someone and their conversation is not very clear. You can actually read the closed captioning. And so that we can still continue to have that great conversation. And let's assume you're talking to someone and they are a Spanish language speaker. We have the ability to automatically translate the conversation from English to Spanish. And we'll be able to support multiple different languages in the near future as well. And so being able to take those meeting notes, being able to transcribe your entire meeting completely changes the experience as you go through it day by day. And in addition to that, once you're done with the meeting, let's say a month ago you've had a very important meeting, but you forgot few aspects of it. All you need to do is to go into the cloud. All of your meetings are nicely categorized, very clearly highlighted. All you have to do is to put a search on the particular keywords you're looking for, and you'll basically take you to the exact portion of that particular meeting. And so that way, you'll be able to continue on with the conversation and have a real productive meeting across the board. The other areas which we have also automated is, like I said, the voice assistant. Every one of our devices are AI enabled and comes with a Webex assistant. So you can have a conversation with Webex. I go into the office in the morning and I know that a meeting is about to start. It'll actually say, hey, Aruna, you have a meeting starting in 5 minutes. Do you want to join? And all I have to do is to say, hey, yes, Webex, and I'm in the meeting. And in the future, we are going to have additional functionality. So let's say you have a recurring weekly call and you basically go through a deck, which is in a particular SharePoint. Webex will actually load the deck into the meeting, and the voice assistant will ask you, do you want me to load the deck from your last call into the meeting? Again, goes to talk about how intelligent AI is going to play a big role in terms of being able to automate a lot of these tasks so that things becomes much more easier. The other third one is about wireless sharing. And so wireless sharing means, like I said, I go into my office, I'm on the phone, and with a simple swipe, I can actually switch from my mobile device into my Webex device. Or, I just visited Royal Caribbean to talk to the CIO, and she was asking me a question, and I found it very hard to explain to her. And all I had to do is to take my mobile device, connect to their Webex device, and I had to do the screen sharing. In 2 minutes, was able to have a very, very intelligent conversation with her without having to even take my laptop, because I did not come here with a laptop. And so again, goes to play a big role in terms of being able to automate a lot of the mundane tasks. And last but not the least, you have to think about dynamic workspace allocation. So gone are the days where you're trying to figure out, like, God, how do I basically reserve a meeting room? So with a simple click, with a simple app, you should be able to reserve all of the rooms which are available to you. The second thing is, how many times have we been in situations where you go from one building to the other and you don't know where the meeting room is located? What if there was a way where with automatic wayfinding, the app will actually give you the directions to the meeting room? That is the future of work. That's where the whole collaboration area is actually going, so which will help you locate your meeting rooms, will be at your fingertips. And last but not the least, what if you could actually customize your entire meeting environment, your room settings, the coloring in the room, the light settings, everything through the simple same meetings app? And like I said, that plays a big role with respect to personalization and becomes an important element of how the future is actually going to change. And last but not the least, you have to think about workspace experience analytics. So you have deployed a whole bunch of conference rooms with devices, you have a lot of meetings, you do a lot of calling through your PBX exchanges, but you really don't have details on how things are actually being utilized. And now we have a centralized control hub where it will give you complete insights towards the meeting room occupancy and utilization. It'll tell you how many meetings were actually done. It'll tell you what are the dwell times. It'll tell you what are the high traffic areas. So if you are in facilities, this becomes your holy grail, because you'll be able to make changes and leverage your existing real estate investments in order to actually do planning for your collaborative needs for the future. We at Cisco actually went through this transformation ourselves. We started this journey in 2016, and we're still on this journey. We are not done. You're never done, because the workforce constantly continues to change, and so you can never be done when you think about the future of work. And so as you can see here, as of 2019, with the transformation we have done, where we have changed the worker type, where people have gone from offices to more of a remote setup. We have changed the number of huddle rooms from large conference room to more amount of huddle rooms, as well as being able to book ad hoc conference rooms. You can see that there has been a tremendous amount of gains we have actually had in terms of increasing employee engagement, increasing the workplace productivity, as well as a tremendous amount of savings we have actually got by closing down a lot of buildings, by leveraging our existing reinvestment in terms of being able to adapt to the various different work styles as well as workspace. So before I leave you, I would like to play a video which will showcase to you on the transformation we went through in our Singapore office. Can we roll the video? And thank you.